Should we get the mic out? Maybe we should get the mic out. All right, right. So I thought I would come and talk to you guys. Because somebody pointed out, right, that they thought that the thing that was going to bring the world to what I was trying to talk about was me just being myself and explaining to them my journey, right? So I'm going to do that. Now, this book that I wrote is the product of that journey and all the experiences that I went through while I was through it. Right? Only it's to help you grow and speed up your process through the journey. Right? So I'm gonna talk to you guys for a little bit about the things that I experienced and how I reacted to them, and the things that I've learned since I've gotten past those certain points. Okay. So to begin with, right? It was the thing that really kicked everything into high gear for me, and I think most people will find that this was the altering moment in their lives themselves, was me losing my father back in 2020. Right? That's what really kicked things into high gear for me, because when that happened to me, it created I don't want to say a numbness, but it felt like a numbness, but it was an energy that I couldn't explain. Right? That's the best way for me to put it to you. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. I gotta set this stuff up so that everything runs smoothly. Okay. So it was losing my father. Was something that was more difficult than what I thought it was going to be, because of the type of relationship that he and I had always had. Right? You know, I hadn't seen him physically probably in about 10 or 12 years, something like that. Before that, it had probably been about another 20 years before that. You get what I'm saying? Like, him and my mom had split up when I was young. There was a little bit of resentment about that. There was, a lot of anger that I carried with me about the way that our relationship was when I was young, right? Because he was what would today be considered somebody that was abusive, right? But it wasn't necessarily that he was abusive. My father was one. I have two parents that were, we'll say, above regular intelligence like levels, if that's the way to put it. My father was in the Air Force. He was one of the people that was locked into the tower that controlled all the planes that went around the world. Oh, hold on a second, I'll be right back. Of course, it's right now. All right, I'm back. Okay. All right. So, here's the deal, right? So, I didn't think that losing him would be something to affect me the way that it did, right? That was not something that I was expecting at all. it caught me completely off guard, because even though we had worked out our relationship to the point to where we were speaking regularly, and we had like a great rapport between us. He was trying to help me build stuff and shit like that. Like, you know, we got close like later on in my life, right? So I wasn't expecting it to impact me the way that it did. You get what I'm saying? But when it did, it was like there was a wave of energy that was in me, but it made everything feel half full, right? It made it feel like the energy was there, but at the same time it was missing in everything that I did and everything that I tried to engage with. It got to the point to where everything that I enjoyed just became a numb thing that I was trying to do in a routine to try to feel something, right? And so the result of that was me diving into my father's character, right? You know, there was a lot that I learned about him. Like, there was people from all around the world that knew who my father was. Like, I didn't know how far his reach really was, but it was like everybody that was around him was pulled to him, to a point to where, you know, they were all getting guidance from him, and he was helping out lots and lots and lots of people. My father was one of those people, like, my uncle described him. He was like, you know, he was one of the most meticulous people that there was. Like, if he bought a TV, before he would plug it in and turn it on, he would read the, what do you call it? He would read the entire manual on it. He would read the manual on the remote control. He would read the manual on the television, and he would know everything from you know, whatever it was possible, right? That's the type of person that he was. Whatever it was, he had to know every single bit of it, right? And I found out that's where I got that from, right? Whenever I get into something, I just dig and dig and dig and dig, right? But so one of the things that he was heavy into was psychology, because my sister, she is, what do you call it? She's got like the highest level that you can get for psychology, for being a psychologist and shit like that. Like, she's gotten her doctorate and all that shit. Like, like, she went through the whole schooling as far as you could take it in school. And so, you know, he was, I guess they were, my dad and my sister have always been like this, you know, so he was kind of studying it as she was studying it. You get what I'm saying? So, like, you know, everybody would always go to him with their problems and things like that, is what I found out when it came time for people to talk. Like, you know, when funerals come up, you know, people start coming out of the woodwork. And, you know, at that time, you know, Facebook was the thing. It was 2020, of course, Facebook was it. But, you know, I met like so many people that were like, yeah, he changed my life, he came to me, and da-da-da. And so I was wondering, like, you know, that kind of became my thing. Like, it was, all right, so if this is what my dad was doing, I want to continue what he was doing, right? Like, I've always wanted to make him proud of me, even through everything that happened, right? No matter what it was, I was always trying to make my dad proud of me. So I noticed that I already had a lot of people that came to me throughout my entire life that all just like come to me with like their deepest, darkest secrets and stuff like that. And I was like, so maybe I'm supposed to help people like this. Right? Maybe I'll just continue what he was doing. My dad was one of those people that studied all religions and stuff like that. Like, he read all of them. He got invited to Princeton when they were deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls. Right? He got invited there to come and fucking decipher. Like, my dad was known. I didn't even know about it. We were supposed to be. One time he was telling me about my business stuff, because you know, I was talking to him about the dogs that I was breeding and stuff like that, and I was telling him how I wanted to go one route, but my partner didn't want to go the other route, and like he explained to me that, like, you know, he was like, business wise, do whatever you believe in, because he was like, he lost the opportunity to be the people that house the servers for the internet for the East Coast, for the tri-state area, because one of his business partners didn't like believe in it, right? They didn't think the internet was going to go anywhere. So one out of three wouldn't sign off on it, and so they lost that opportunity, right? My dad was like, look, we'd be billionaires right now if it weren't for my other partner. He was like, so, you know, learn to trust yourself and go with your gut, and, you know, go with your instincts. If you feel like that's the way that you want to go, follow it, right? So it just makes sense to me, right? So now, like, you know, I kind of live my life by that now. Like, whatever I feel is right is what I go for, right? Now, I'm not, don't get it twisted. I'm not some, like, what do you call those, yogis and shit like that. Like, I make plenty of mistakes. Well, I guess they're not necessarily mistakes, but I do plenty of things that I don't want to do at times. Like, I still have moments when I snap on people, and like this isn't something that's going to make you perfect, yo. It just gives you a better understanding of it, right? So, like, anyway, right? So because of that, you know, it made me, because, like, I really sat down. Like, I really sat down for like 6 months to a year, right? I just stopped everything that I was doing, right? That was when I started getting into motorcycles. It's like I always wanted to ride bikes. My dad was a Harley rider when I knew him. Like, by the time I was around him, he was riding Harleys. I think he's always rode Harleys though. But, you know, by the time I was born, that's what was going on. So, you know, my dad always had a Harley, you know. Was one of the first internet companies in New Jersey. He was one of the people that built websites for people. My dad built one of the first prototypes of the computer in his garage. When he was a kid, you get what I'm saying? Like, so all the stuff, like, you know, everything that I dig into is everything that my father was, right? Period. Like, there's no way, like, there's extra shit that I do, and there's my own ways that I do it, but everything that I do is a version of what he was. Right? Even when it turned out that I was breeding dogs and bred them down to like miniature sizes and shit, and then I found out by going through his pictures that he had little miniature dogs and stuff that were like close to it. Like, yo, it's crazy. Right? So look, right? Like, it's crazy how much I found out I'm more like him than I even realized once I went to, like, once we started digging through his old pictures and stuff like that, and started talking about, like, everybody started talking about who he used to be and what he did, and it's crazy shit, man. So, all right, so first it started with me digging into the law, right? The law is what led me into all of this, really, because at the time I was dealing with some bullshit in New Jersey, right? And I was wondering how they were able to pull things off, and how they were able to, why it was that things were so fucked up in the law system and shit, that they were able to just make up all these charges against me and fucking try to just hit me off with all this stuff and force me into, like, you know, like, it was too many questions. I was like, what the fuck? Like, how is it, like, because this is it must be a normal practice if they're getting away with shit like this. So I was trying to find what was going on and how to counter that and how to deal with that, you know. And what was crazy is that studying the law, right, turned into religious texts, because it was the land, air, and the water, right? It goes from air, which is canon, and that's also religious, right? They say the things that are real are canon, right? And then there's common law, right, which is the law of the land, and then there's admiralty law, which is the law of the sea, right? These are the three levels of governing, right? And so I started getting into the spiritual stuff because of that. Like that led me into like Bible scriptures and shit like that. So I was like, okay, great. Now I got to study. Now I got to start looking into religious stuff. So religious stuff, I started digging into that. And of course the religious stuff led me into history stuff. And then the history stuff just led me back to the religious stuff. And then like, it just kept on going, right? It just kept on going more and more and more, right? The more I looked into it, the deeper it got, and the more, and then all of it started boiling down to origins somehow, right? All of it started boiling down to origins, and then like ancient civilizations, they got into the origins, and like it's this whole big rabbit hole, right? And so that was like how I got into all this stuff. Like, think about how much stuff I talked to you about. I talked to you about law stuff. I talked to you about astrology. I talked to you about ancient civilizations. I talked to you about the church, right? I talked to you about the spiritualism. I talked to you about like you understand all of that stuff. That's because all of it is like meshed together, right? And so, you know, when I started to get into like the actual spiritual aspect of it, right? Like once we got into the religious stuff, religion will lead you to spirituality once you dig deep enough into it, right? It just takes you down that path, because if you stop at one religion, you can't understand it. You have to look at all of them, and you have to do it from an unbiased perspective, just to just to see where it fits. And when you do that, right, when you start to take them apart and examine them, you find that they're all the same pieces. They're just, some puzzles that somebody tried to glue some extra pieces to, so they fit, but they don't quite fit, right? It's just slightly off information, but it's still true, right? They say that the easiest way to hide a lie is by mixing it with the truth, right? That's the easiest way. Why? Because and yes, this also led me deep into psychology. Okay, the thing is in philosophy too, because a lot of this you can find the keys to a lot of these things in like Roman and Greek philosophy, right? You can't find much other philosophy outside of that, because they did a good job of like erasing and claiming all of it for themselves. But another subject. But I can literally show you philosophy in hieroglyphs. Like, he who has the eyes to see will see, right? And so, if you study like psychology and shit like that, and then look at the way that people are approaching these spiritual things, which is actually just regulation of the energies of the body. That's literally all that it really translates down to. Everybody says, oh, it's light and it's energy, and you're a being of light and you're a being of, and they give you cute words like spirit and spiritual and soul and things like this. All these things that just mean energy. Like, they literally just mean energy, right? Everything is just boiling down to regulating your energies in your mind, so that your mind and your heart coexist together instead of in opposite of each other. Because you want to create one polarity instead of having two separate things, two separate energies, right? It's stronger if you can combine the two to one, right? It's how you control and regulate the things that happen around you and what you do, right? So what ends up happening is, you start to dig into these things, and like I said, it all starts to boil down to a source of energy, right? And where you can find traces of that source of energy, how to absorb and how to regulate and how to maintain those energies, things that will grow you. You also learn how to shut it off. People don't realize it, but everybody knows how to shut it off. It's simple deduction. Whatever you've already been through has shut you off from all of that, right? So if you ever want to shut it off, people always say, now look, right, there's a little truth to it when people tell you that, once you open your eyes, you can't unsee it, right? So you can't necessarily like shut it off, right? You can't completely close yourself off from it, but what you can do is negate the way that the mind functions. You can the thing is, right, the reason that they tell you this, right, is because once you decalcify your pineal gland, and once you get it so that once you've gone through the training of it to make it so that you program your mind to look at things a certain way and reprogram your mind to release certain energies and things on an automation instead of it being something that you have to focus to practice to do. You know, once you get it down to that point to where it's just a natural occurrence that's reoccurring in your body now because your body actually realizes that it's supposed to now, right? Because that's all it is you've taught yourself to shut it off. By not acknowledging it, by not understanding it and not knowing about it, you inherently turn that off, okay? Through generations over time. That's why there's certain people that aren't able, that don't really have the melanin access to the pineal gland, right? Oh man, we got so much shit to get into. Look, all right, check this out, right? I'm gonna help y'all out with this whole dumb racist shit. Look, the reason you can go into any type of any part of the world and you can find anybody that looks like anybody from any so-called race. There's only so many different variations of this that it can be created. Listen to me. There was a time when the people of the surface had to go underground. Those same people that were on the surface were dark complected people that went underground. Okay, those people that went underground, you can look this up for yourself. There's a guy in Africa that was what you would consider to be black, and he took his ass inside of a cave and lived in that cave for like 20 to 30 years or something. And he went from being black woolly hair that was, you know, same coarseness like this shit right here, or mine be all curly and shit if it fucking grew, but look, like not like, you know, mine's mixed, so it's a little bit less, but like, you get what I'm saying? He went in there like looking like everybody that has a fro and shit like that, and came out with straight fucking like long curly but long hair that naturally laid almost flat but was curly. It had turned blonde. His skin had turned what you would consider Caucasian white because of how much time he spent in the caves. Literally. Understand? Literally. So the very people that you think aren't, they really are. They've just been in the caves so long, and there's so many generations that were born in those caves so long, the features have changed, right? There was no large amount of oxygen, right? So the nostrils got smaller. Why? Because it had to be more closed off to protect itself from the things that it was having to breathe in, which means that it was needed to be tighter, right? There was less oxygen, so the breaths had to be reduced. Right? There was less light, so the eyes got brighter. There was less sun, so the pineal gland and things and the melanin started to reduce themselves by generation after generation. This is how evolution works. Literally, the same type of people that were on the surface were the same type of people that went under the surface, and you can find these cave dwellings all throughout the entire fucking world, but they're telling you everything flooded. They're telling you that everything flooded, yet if everything flooded, how come these civilizations still, how come these cave civilizations exist all around the world and they weren't flooded out? But they tell you there was a flood and that they can prove it. But if there was a flood, let me ask you this one more time. Right? Was it a mud flood, or did people build their way out from underground? Was it a mud flood, or is there a civilization of people that still live underground that built access to the surface? The ways that they're telling you these things, right? Now, so think about it for a minute, right? So none of their stories add up. None of it equates to what they're telling you, if you really, really pay attention to it, right? And so all the so-called, that's why racism is stupid, because these are just generations of people that came from under the ground. That's why they didn't know how to act out in the fucking light. That's why their skin wasn't prepared for sunlight. That's why they feel more comfortable what? In cold, dark places that have dead air. Right? Do you understand? Oh, I know, Razio. I know, but I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit because you can't prove me wrong on this, because looking around the entire system that is running right now proves everything that I'm telling you. So they can't get mad at me. They can't get mad at me. It's just the truth of how things are. That's what happened, bro. Like that's all that it is. What happened? Look at the difference. People on the surface, right? The people that were on the surface, they got their energy from what? The sun, right? So the hair grew what? Thick and like a tree. It was growing, and they had melanin in their skin to absorb the sun. So what do you have the opposite of? You have people that were getting their resources and their energy from what? The fucking ground. So what happened? That poofy hair, what? Naturally, by evolution, started aiming downward. Because the energy that they were getting was coming from the ground. It wasn't coming from up in the air anymore. Because they were living underground, closer to the magnetism of the middle. You understand? So everything started going that way. You think we're different than the plants? You really think that we're different than the plants? They are built like roots. The people that were on the surface are built like the trees and the plants and the things that come to the surface. It's the same shit, yo. It's all the same people. It's just generations, right? And the ones that were underground, they stayed there for a very long time. This is where your story of people being civilized comes from. Because what? This is why do you think that people that are the lighter complected ones from the what you call European or YT or whatever the fuck you want to call it, why do you think they have a system for eating meat? Why do you think their body has evolved to eat meat? How much fruits and vegetables do you find underground outside of what? Mushrooms? Come on, yo. It's like, you know, people tend to not look into these things for real. And if you really pay attention to these things, all this shit makes sense. So what are they more prone to eat? Meat and mushrooms. Why do you think there's so much mushroom in their genetics? Where do you think the bright eyes come from? That's because they need to see better in the dark. You understand? Like, understand that when you start looking into all these things, it's like the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper. There's a whole history that nobody knows about, that I think I figured out pretty simply by deduction. You get me? Why do you think there's so many that eat raw meat? Right? And their bodies digest that. Like, just the same as, all right, I'm mixed, right? I got some of that underground genetic, I got some of that top of the ground genetics in me, right? So I can eat both. You get me? I eat both. But I also have the choice, right? I can make a choice because my genetics are slightly different. You get what I'm saying? Like, yo, look, it is what it is, yo. Like, I don't know why people have such a problem with this shit, right? Why people deny these things, why people get angry and bothered by these things. I think it's dope, yo. I think it's dope knowing how I was evolved and where I really came from and what the fuck, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not one of those people that, oh my God, there was dogs that, like, bro, I understand that there's different animals that were mixed with people and shit to make different types, like, these are, but these are stories of these are allegories in all reality. Like, there weren't really dog people running around and shit like that. And there might have been some things close because, you know, people lived in caves. You know, people do freaky shit to this day. You know, you see, like, yeah, you think fucking splicing genetics can only be done. No, man, there were some people that were doing some really, really weird stuff with animals. There's still people like that to this day. You get me? But, you know, look, man, like, you know, so I don't go for the whole divide thing. Like, that's why, you know, a lot of people, you know, they'll fuck with me spiritually for a hot minute. They'll take a lot of information from me, but then, you know, some of them, like, you know, they get mad because I don't get upset about the stories. They crack me up and they fucking sound dope to me. Oh, like, you know, there was a story, there was like part of the story. Cause like, look, I did the completed world history playlist. If you go watch that playlist, like all that was that was the combination of the different creation stories. That's all it was. It was the combination of the different creation stories. There was the religious church aspect of it. There was the Muslim aspect of it. There was the Christian aspect. There was the Jewish aspect. There was the fucking Anunnaki aspect. There's the Egyptian. Like, bro, it was just like I just combined all the different mythologies and put them all together in a timeline. And it made for a dope story. It's dope as fuck when you put them all together. Like, it's crazy how that shit actually plays out. You know, it'd make a great movie. It would make a great movie, like, for real. Like, that shit was an awesome story. Because we got into giants, titans, motherfucking, you know, they got the map looking like, you know, hey, you know what Skull Island is? Africa, right? Africa is what you call Skull Island, right? That's a real place. That's really what it's crazy shit. But, so, you know, I be losing a lot of people because I don't do none of that racist shit. It sounds stupid to me. Like, you just sound uneducated to me. You sound like you haven't dug enough. But, you know, so look, so here's the thing, right? When you really start digging into all this, you see how far that rabbit hole goes, right? So, you know that once you really start digging into this spiritual stuff, that all that stuff starts to play into a factor. Like, you have to start looking through these things, and you're going to end up digging through all the different civilization stories, all the different creation stories, all the different history things that they tell you about and shit like that. That's all part of this spiritual journey, right? Because you go on a search trying to find who you really are. Right, and you find that leads you to ancestral stuff, and then everybody tells you gotta listen to your ancestors and stuff. So you start thinking of ancestors and digging into that, and then, like, so you're. But like, this is the thing, right? And the whole reason I'm making this is because there's a lot of things that I want you to be aware of, so that you don't get absorbed into them and don't do these mistakes that, like, I made, that I see other people making and shit like that. Right? First off. The first thing that you're going to feel overwhelmingly is that you're here for a purpose, right? That you have some divine purpose, and that you're meant to change the world, and that you're meant to help people, and you're meant to do this, and you're meant to do that, and you're meant to do this, right? That's the first thing that everybody tells you. You're awoke, and you're meant to do this. I gotta flip this camera for a minute or two, right? Because I don't want to get in fucking any more marks on my account. So, right, so I want you to think about this, right? When you first get into this, you're going to hear things about shadow work. You're going to hear things about your purpose. You're going to hear that, you know, you're the black sheep, and you're here to make a difference in the world, and you're supposed to, and all of this weight just gets put on you, right? All this crazy ass weight just gets put on your shoulders, right? And, you know, out of nowhere, like, all of a sudden you're picked. That's what they tell you. You're the one, right? You're the one. And here, let me turn on this mic so you can hear me better. I'm turning on the AC. Starting to get a little warm, right? So they give you these ideas. Like, the first thing that pops into this journey is people are going to tell you that you're special, that you're woke, that you're more aware of things, that, you know, you have a divine purpose, and that, you know, you're supposed to do all of these things, right? And what this is a trap. This is one of the first traps that they've put out, right? This is why we talk so heavily about compliance inside of the book and willful slavery, right? It's right? This is why we got into those things in the book, right? Because I realized that there's a lot of things floating around this so-called spiritual kingdom, we'll call it, right? They say it's a spiritual war going on and everything like that. Well, there's a lot of information that's floating around that's actually counterproductive. It's very destructive, the way that this is being dealt out, and it's very easy to fall for these tricks because, you know, people are not paying attention to the subconscious effects of these things. Right? I want you to realize that en masse, since this spiritual journey has started and the spiritual war as they're claiming it to be and all, I want you to realize how many homes have been broken up because of this. I want you to realize how many families have separated because of this. How many people were indoctrinated into thinking that their higher purpose meant that they couldn't enjoy and appreciate the people that were there for them now because there was something better waiting for them. You see, there's a lot of tricks that are being played on the people that are trying to learn about this, right? That are trying to grow, because the thing is when you reach out for an answer, there's always some that are available, right? There's always answers that are available, but you have to be very careful of the source, because you don't know what the intention is behind that true source and behind that true information and behind what they're teaching you about, right? I want you to realize that you have seen en masse across the entire spectrum women that just up and left all their, like, it's just been because they were told that they're divine feminine and that, you know, their partner's the thing that's holding them back and there's something better in their future and they have to let go of their past in order to grow, and then everybody started looking at their partners like they were a problem, or like it wasn't good enough for them anymore. And this broke up many families across the entire fucking country. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I know here in America, I've been at this for 4 years. I've been paying attention. I've seen the effects of it. I've been witnessing and talking to people. This is my second account during this time reaching over 100,000 people. My other accounts that I had while I was trying to figure out the algorithms, how to rebuild my account back up to 100,000 people without getting, you know, booted off like I did on the first one that I lost, was, you know, I had another account that had 40,000. I had another account that had 60,000. I had another account that had 20,000. I got another account right now with 8,000 and growing. I had another account this guy, you understand? I've been just, you know, observing as I was doing this. That's what I do. I'm an observer. I like to see things in depth and before I try to involve myself in them, right? And what I've noticed is that from 2020 to 2024, there has been a mass separation that took place because of this so-called spiritual journey. And it is directly correlated to this because of the teachings that people have put out into the consciousness, right? You have the one teaching that's telling everybody that there's something better for them, and then you have all of these people that are feeding it, oh, there's something coming for you. But, like, you know, misguided information. You have to let go of your past. It's not letting go of your past as in removing yourself from the people that love you, that you care about, that you're around, that have been there on your journey, that have helped you get to the place where you are. It's letting go of the ideas and the things that you think of them, and realizing that everything that they've done came from a place of love, and reshaping the way that your subconscious is thinking in order for you to embrace and enjoy them even more. The problem is that people didn't take that perspective, right? Instead, it was forced down everybody's throat that you're special. You have to fucking get rid of all of your past, and you have to move forward, and this is how you're going to find your twin flame, and the person that you're with, you know, they're close, but they're not what you're really looking for, and you can have that grass is greener on the other side. But the grass has always been greenest where it was watered. And so there was a destructive force that went through the so-called spiritual community that created a divide and a separation, and destroyed homes and destroyed families, and removed, because everybody was listening to these things that people were saying without understanding what was really taking place. Right? This is why I studied the subconscious so heavily, is because it's not what they're telling you, it's the subconscious implications and the reactions in the general that's been programmed and listen, right? Think about it. You came from right before all this so-called spiritual journey started. We had what? We had a shutdown to where everybody was separated and segregated and taught to fear everybody coming even within 5 fucking feet of them. Right? It became a terror for people to be around each other. And so it separated the general public from the general public. And then what happened after that? Now you have a spirituality that's telling you you have to separate yourself from everything that's close to you in order to move forward onto your next form and unlock your true power and unlock your... So now you've got the separation of the general public to segregating everybody to their family, to going inside of the family and separating the family from the inside out. Willingly of the own, because it's a trained reaction. You understand? It's a programmed reaction. You've already been programmed heavily to separate yourself from the things that you're told are no longer good for you, right? But who told you that it was no longer good for you? The universe didn't. You decided to go along with it. Right? You, like, you know, people bought into that whole idea, right? And so what you've seen is a whole bunch of people that are now unhappy. Why? Because they don't have, you know, bro, you have no idea. Listen, I've reached well over 1 million people through the numbers of followers. Just follower wise, I've reached over 1 million people in the last 4 years. Okay, if all of none of my accounts had been deleted and all of that shit was on one account, I'd be sitting at close to 1.2 million people on this account right now. If all of my fucking followers had if I had all those followers that I've had over the last 4 years on one account. And trust me, I can show you that in my inbox, I've probably talked to 70% of the people on my profile. You get me? I don't ignore people. I talk to everybody that inboxes me. I've heard so many stories. I know so many people going through it right now, feeling lost, trying to find themselves, that because, you know, they've separated things and now they're all segregated and, you know, struggling, living alone rather than being with, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, it's in mass. It's in mass just because of this misinformation that's been floating around, telling everybody that you've got this divine higher purpose, and that means you have to separate yourself and push that, bro. Like, that whole idea was an attack. That whole idea was an attack. How do you create unity out of separate? If you can't even create unity within your family, how do you expect to create unity within a community? Let me ask you that one more time. If you can't create unity within the house that you're in, and you feel like you have to separate away from them, then you're doing the opposite of what the entire spiritual thing is about, which is the unity that's between everybody. So if you can't create unity within the household that you're in, how are you going to create unity in the community? All you're going to be teaching people is segregation. In the spiritual journey, it's not that the world changes around you and that all this magical, mystical shit happens. Hold on a second. Carefully. You're tied up in there. Get out. Hold on, I gotta help my dog out. He's tied up. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so listen, right? Like, hear me out on this. Right? Hear me out on this. Okay? Because a lot of people don't realize this shit. Stop separating yourself. Stop trying to tell yourself that because there's something better in your future that you have to get rid of the thing that you love. Right? That's not the case. If you can't even manage to get yourself under control for something that you love and care about, how can you get yourself under control for things that you haven't even really embraced? Do you see the trick that was played there? Right? I want you to think about that for a second, right? Like, really take that in. Like, there's been so many people that have broken up their homes thinking, because they've gone to what, the tarot readers that tell them there's something great in their future and stuff like that, and everybody takes this thing as there's something great and amazing in your future, as in you have to do something different. Your future has always been amazing. Yes, I do a lecture, but no, don't subscribe to this one. The other one is the one that I do that on. But so don't subscribe to this one. In fact, I'm getting a Patreon set up, so we're just gonna do it there. I keep forgetting to finish it. So look, right? Don't fall for this thing because this is the thing, right? People are breaking their own heart and separating themselves from people that they love with this idea that there's something better than that outside of that, right? A lot of people are doing this, right? Sorry, hold on, let me adjust my holder. Gotta put it in the holster, right? So there's a danger that's in the spiritual community of misunderstanding, right? Because these people wouldn't have been, this wouldn't have been able to affect them in this way had they understood or had the right type of perspective to be given in the first place, right? Understanding that there's a programming going on and that there's a hindrance of these things is something that people are lacking. Like you understand that there's a program that's working against you doing these things for yourself. It's been in place the whole time, but somehow everybody gets into the spiritual thing and just completely forgets that there's this whole thing that's working against you getting there. It's necessary. I want you to understand, right? Everybody gets upset about it. They're like, oh, I can't believe that, this, they've been, trying to hide this from us and da-da-da. Listen. It has to be done. This is what people don't seem to understand about it, is it has to be done. Because you have to have the human experience first for you to even be able to grasp what you are truly, for you to be able to see and feel the effects of everything that you need to understand in order for you to grow to the position of the creation of the creator the way that you're supposed to create. Remember, one thing is unanimously agreed upon in this entire thing, is that you're training to be in a position of creation. You're here to learn from the perspective of the created in order for you to be able to make a more fair and a more beautiful and a more conductive environment. Remember, you're here as a part of a consciousness that is observing the thing that it creates. How could you do that fairly if you knew all of this from the beginning? So your mind is wiped, you're told you're human, and you experience everything from human. Until you get to a maturity point to where things change. If you notice, when things change for people, it's after certain experiences have taken place that gives them a certain mindset that gives them the necessary compulsion to look. Everybody hits this wall at some point. Now, some hit it earlier than others, some hit it later than others. Some go through enough horrific things that they get smacked into the middle of it when they're young and unable to fucking comprehend it, right? And it drives them fucking nuts from being... You see, it's like this. There's a certain level of... How can I explain it? There's a certain level of struggle that you have to go through to wake up certain things. That's why every time that you get something better, it's after something gets difficult. There's like a programmed level inside of everybody that they have to get to as far as pressure being applied for them to reach the point to where they're like, okay, now I'm ready to understand. Some people hit that threshold early. Some people hit that threshold in the middle. Some people hit that threshold late. Some people don't hit that threshold. Right. I see you over there, little mischief guy. Think about it. I want you to realize this, right? Think about this for a moment. People that... Okay, look. You have to understand the brain has to mature to a certain level in order for real comprehension of it to even be possible, right? The brain has to grow to a certain level. That's 33. That's the age of maturity for your brain. That's when your brain is completely created. See, this is why everything revolves around 33 and numbers and things like that. Okay, this is why the numerology is important. I need to study numerology some more. Right. Anyway, right. So your brain ages at the age of 33 is when the brain is fully developed, right? So this is why people are only able to comprehend these things at a certain level until they reach around their 30s. Okay? Like, you'll be able to get into these type of things at younger ages, and but there's only certain levels that you can get to because of the way that the brain is still being put together, right? Now, you can expeditedly build I don't even know. We're not even going to get into manipulation of genetics. We'll talk about that level of things on a later basis. But there's things that I've figured out that, you know, basically I know how to... I don't even want to get into it. This is why I've been so excited about like thinking about there's a baby in my future, about making a baby and stuff like that, is because the things that I know now, it would be so interesting to see what that baby would be capable of because of the things that are in my genetics right now versus the things that I would also be speaking into it, the things that I would be teaching it and things like that. You know, that would... You don't even know the stuff that I've been you can train them to activate their DNA in a certain way. That's why you know the public schooling isn't where it's at. You need to homeschool, and you need to homeschool from the... You'll understand later on. But anyway, so look, right? So here's the thing, right? There's a whole lot of... it's just bad information that is floating around about this spiritual stuff, and there's a whole bunch of people being launched into it in ways that are counterproductive. And I know that, to me, it's what I see it as is a necessary safety blocker. But for me, at the same time, is knowing that that's a necessary safety blocker for people that aren't ready to move forward. The whole reason that I'm putting this message out is for the people that are ready to move forward. Everybody's not going to listen to this. Everybody's not going to hear what I'm saying. Everybody's not even going to have the patience to make it through this. I know, because you have to go through a certain level of mind work to be able to sit and listen in the first place. Right? There's no magical fucking, I don't have a bunch of things popping off in the background. There's not a bunch of gifts flying in here. I'm not fucking jumping around and shit, and you're just listening. It's because there's a certain level to this. You understand? There's things that you're supposed to know that I'm telling you that I'm supposed to be given to you, because there's things that within you that are laying dormant that once you're able to unlock those become something that teach me. Revolving cycle. That's all this is. So there's so here's the other thing, right? You're not fucking more special than anybody. Okay. Let me repeat that for you. Let me repeat that for you. Don't fall for this thing of everything is on your shoulders and the whole world is waiting on you, and don't fall for that shit. You're not... Look. you're no more special than this little stick right here. Neither am I. My worth is no more than that is. That thing is experiencing this from that perspective of being that thing. You get what I'm saying? That's it. That's what you're doing. How are you more important than that? How are you more important than these keys? It's proven that everything has energy. If everything has energy, then everything is witnessing. And if everything is witnessing, then what part of it is more important than you're witnessing? It's not. Everything is an intricate piece of a puzzle that's decided. You're not more special. There's nothing more special about me. I'm not giving you something extra. You're going to give me something, or you have already given me something. You just don't even realize it. Okay? You don't even have to give me something directly. I've gotten something from somebody else, and somebody else gave me something that's passing through me to you. Exactly, Mel. It's all an illusion, right? How you play with this illusion and how you accept it and how you mold and put this into perspective is going to affect greatly the way that you stroll through this. You can stroll through it, or you can fucking drown yourself in it. How do they detect inactivity? I'm sitting here on the live. Now look, listen to me. Listen. Hey, there's a lot of people on that duality. Look, don't worry about that, Mel. There's people that need to learn the duality first. There's stages to this learning. Right? There's stages to this learning. Everybody has to go through these different stages. There is no way that you can get to the next one without moving through the last one. Right? So they have to learn duality. A lot of us are already past duality. A lot of us have figured out that the secret to duality is the oneness that creates it in the first place. You understand? There's levels to this. There's things that you have to learn. There's things that you have to do. Me speaking to this and the people that are listening to it now, they're listening to it now because I'm the one doing the same thing for them on the videos that I was learning from the people that I was talking to, that I was gathering my knowledge from. I'm being that same person for them that I've already had many people be for me. That's all it is. And the result of that is what I give to them, they're going to give to somebody else, and that's going to make its way back to me in some type of new information from somebody that I haven't even met yet. Cycles. You understand? It's just rolling through. It's just rolling through the way that it's supposed to roll. Because I've accepted it. Like, okay, right? Let's keep moving with this. So let's keep discussing the things that are going on within this spiritual journey, right? So the next thing, after you hear the common fucking narrative of you're special, you're the one, you were chosen, you're an indigo child, you're a fucking being of Syrian, you're a Palladian, you're a this, you're a that, you're a magical being from the Syrian Star 9 fucking nebula, gag it. Just gag it. Throw it all out the fucking window and gag it. These are traps. Once you accept these things, that separates you from everything else, which means that you've now decided you're better than everybody else. Don't fall for that. Thou shalt take up no other God before me. Thou shalt take up no other God before me. Thou shalt not worship false idols. You're going to worship all these different things that, how do you separate yourself and tell yourself that you're that specifically if you're a part of everything? You've now created a separation. Aren't you supposed to be learning how to be one with everything? How are you one with everything if you're saying I'm just this? Do you see the trick that was played there? You see, it's not what they're giving you to think about consciously. It's what the fucking subconscious programming is that's taking place. Subconsciously, you've now created pride within yourself. You've now decided that I'm this, so this is this, and you're not that, and fuck that, and fuck you, and you've just put a bubble around you. You just stopped your ability to fucking grow. You fell for the trap. These are the things that are, look, these are the things that are put in place. Listen, these are the things that are put in place for those that are not ready to move forward. This is how you know that you haven't really taken the time to fully embrace the things before you moved forward. Because if you did fully embrace the things before you moved forward, you would see these traps. You would be able to acknowledge and be able to understand that these are traps that are being played. Hey, what up, Tobias? What's up, guy? I see you found my other profile. Welcome. Welcome, brother. So think about this for a minute, right? Realize that, you know, the very fact that you rushed in, because what happens, right? How does it happen? We all have our hands out, we all have our eyes out, we all have our minds on everybody's looking, everybody's like, okay, where's that answer? Where can I find that answer? Where can I find that answer? And then you have all these people telling you this answer, this answer, this answer. All of these answers that they're giving you are prideful perspectives. They're telling you you're supposed to be this special one. Oh, well, if you're special, then how are you a part of everything? Wouldn't that be a separation? You got to watch out. People don't. And look, this is the thing. It's not that they're doing that on purpose to you. They're not purposely doing this. They're playing their part in the program because they themselves haven't gotten past it to even realize what it is that they're doing. But if you look at it from an honest perspective, it's that need, it's that feeling of that need to know that there is a purpose and there's something that you have to do that makes you special, that you searched for in the first place. That's what made you start this in the first place, was knowing that you had to do something. So it's not it's a necessary part of the program. You understand? It's a necessary part of it. It's not something like you've experienced this on a certain level at all point in times. Now the thing is are you able to discern it? Are you able to see it really? And are you really paying attention to look for it in the first place? Because you have to know, right? People get into this thinking that, oh, I'm gonna just do things and things are gonna unlock and things are gonna unlock, and then they go chasing it, right? If you're chasing it, that means that you're not accepting that you're already a part of it. If you're going around looking for all these answers everywhere, that means that you already didn't accept that you had the answers. Now, that just means that you're at a different point. You know, that means that you're still in a growing point. That means that you're still moving through the certain levels of it, right? But, you know, then, you know, because at a certain point, you have to, it's not that you have to, but at a certain point, you're going to get to a point to where you're aligning yourself, right? So you have to be careful when you're aligning yourself, right? Because the whole purpose of this, how do you align yourself truly, is by listening to the heart. The reason that is listening to the heart is because the mind you can silence. Why can you silence the mind? Because the mind is a reaction to the information and the memories. That's a second voice. You have the heart, which is always there. It's always taking, like the heart is always on. The heart is the thing that keeps you alive. Why wouldn't you listen to that first? The heart is this thing that sees through all time. The mind is this thing that sees in the current. It makes analytical decisions off of current survival things. The heart is that omnipotent, always been flowing, always been there watching out and protect. Why does the heart protect you? Because the heart protects itself. The heart always knows what's best for the heart. That's why you should listen to the heart. This is the thing that keeps you fucking alive. You're supposed to be aligning the heart and the mind. How do you align the heart and the mind? What's the first thing that they teach you to do? Meditate. What's the first thing they teach you to do when you're meditating? Shut your fucking mind off. It's your heart that you're supposed to be listening to, because your heart's led you through everything in the first place. It's your arguments that came from the mind that made you go against what the heart wanted, which led you into trouble, which made things more difficult. The heart is the thing that's from the past, the present, and the future, that has that energy inside of it from the past, the present, and the future. Everything goes through it. Only through me can you get to the Father. The energy that the heart puts out is the thing that creates, right? The energy that the mind puts out is what wants the creation. The energy of the heart is what brings it into fruition. The eyes are what receive what the heart proceeds to create. So So if you try to ignore your heart, like a lot of people are like, I love this person, but like this is what I'm talking about, right? The mind gets played with on this spiritual journey, because the mind is what is having people break up with people that what they love in their heart. Right? Think about that. Think about how many relationships have ended. They'll tell you flat out, I still love this person. They were great. Like and like we had a beautiful thing, but I know that there's more for me, and you just ignored your heart when you're supposed to be getting closer to it. You see how what's being taught is actually pulling people further back from the spirituality. A lot of people are coming out of the church and coming out of religion and coming out of all these different things, trying to find the answers in the spiritual thing, and they're getting pulled further away by being told, you got to let go of things, you have to move past things, you have to, all these things are lies and setups that are part of the necessary system. That's the funny part about it. It's necessary. And we're going to call it we can call it necessary evils, but it's not evil because it's necessary. If you didn't experience it, you couldn't grow through it. So here's the thing, right? As much as I want to think that what I'm telling you now is going to help people get through that process without going through that process, it's not. You're only hearing this because you've either A, already experienced it for yourself, B, witnessed it and had questions about it, or C, you're not meant to experience it. That's why you're listening to this now. Watch, there's so many people that are not going to hear this. And they're not going to hear this because they weren't ready to hear this. The videos that I make are only for the people that are ready to hear them. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, which means that you're not going to hear something until you're actually ready to hear it. That doesn't mean don't say it, right? These are all things that people get so lost in and so fucking, like, it's that in between. Hey look, my ex will tell you, my favorite thing to tell her is, look, it's not what you say that tells me about you, it's what you don't say. I hear everything that you don't say, I see everything that you don't do, and I notice everything that you don't, that you try to hide. It comes out, it speaks more loudly to me. I'm just straight to the background of things. I don't know why. Like, that's just how my mind works now. I've been programming it like this for years now, for like 3 or 4 years. You understand? Well, actually, I've been digging in people for my whole life, so that's different. But look, right? This is the thing, right? You have to watch out for what people are teaching you and what people are showing you. Because everything that they're giving you and showing you is not going to work out the way that you want it to. It's not going to work the way that you think it is, because of the fact that they're teaching you how to separate further. So if you're hearing this, it's because you're not meant to go through that part of the process. So congratulations, you get to skip some of the bullshit. You're lucky. You get to escape right past that, because now that you're aware of it, which means that you'll be looking for it. You're gonna understand that there's these programs and these steps. Like, so that means that you got some more difficult shit, right? This means that you got some difficult shit that you're gonna have to figure out. Because if you're getting these keys, that means that you're right there on the precipice of a new challenge. You should be fucking excited, yo. You should be excited, yo. It's so neat. It's so interesting being able, because, yo, it's such an enjoyment knowing where you're at without even having to be you. Like, do you understand? That's that connection, okay? Like that, like I understand you and I don't even have to fucking know you. Just like you understand me and I don't even have to know you, right? That's that telepathy that everybody thinks doesn't really exist. You see what I be trying to teach y'all? Hey, look. Do you think telepathy doesn't exist? Everything that I'm saying to you right now is something, there's a part of it, at least every part of it, there's something that you've already had a thought of that you were looking for the answer for, but you think that telepathy's, you don't know what it is? Somebody been giving you see what I mean by there's all types of things that are put in place that have locks, right? There's locks to keys, right? There's keys with locks. You have to know the keys in order to get past those locks, right? I know you are, Jeremy. I know you are. It's so exciting for me because I know that if you're listening to this, I know that means that you're gonna have fucking something dope fucking taking place shortly, because that means you're about to go through a new challenge, right? If you're having all of these challenges told for you, that's because there's something that is a part of all of these things that you're about to unlock. Yo, it gives me chills because I can't. You get me? I get excited because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that you're going to unlock, but I know it's going to be dope when I find it. Right? I might find it like 2 years down the line. Who fucking knows? It might be something I find out in a week from now. It'll come to me. Like, you know, I don't. But that's the thing. Right? Here's the other thing. Stop expecting. Stop allowing people to trick you into expecting things. Okay? Don't go looking for it, right? The whole point is that you're supposed to be enjoying this, being this, and being able to see this and being this from your perspective. And I've been sitting here playing video games for the last 2 days. I've been sitting here playing video games, hanging out with my friends, and chilling, just being me. A lot of people get absorbed by this shit and they think that, you know, oh, I shouldn't do this anymore, I shouldn't do that anymore. No, that just means that you're at the learning stage. At the learning stage, you're going to get absorbed with the information. You're going to be digging into that fucking information, and for a minute, you know, everybody's going to tell you, oh, you can't do that no more, that's wasting your time, that's blah, blah, blah. It's a lie. It's all that shit that took you, that's everything that made you. Don't fucking, look, don't fall for that shit. Okay, that's everything that made you in the first place. So how could it be something bad? You see what they're doing? They're separating you from you while you're trying to grow. And you don't even. Right. So look, right. So, like, yo, I don't think y'all understand how much energy I feel when I talk to y'all about this shit. It's just building up because I know that you're over there getting fucking happier, and I can. It's dope, yo. Why do you think I gotta have my AC on all the time? Because y'all be getting all happy and shit. I'll be getting all hot from all the energy. Because we give each other energy, you know? That's why, oh, man, it's so much more than, like, when you really, when you fully embrace and you're able to actually really, like, it's like you could really feel, you understand? You can really, really feel the enjoyment. Like, it's just like it's just there. Okay, like, and it's fun, you know. Like you like, you know, it's fun, you know. It's great to see, feel, and be able to recognize, right? And I needed this right now anyway. Why? Because my mind was too much with my ex, right? Me and, like, you know, we just had another breakup conversation, even though we're not together and haven't been together for like 8 months. Like, we just had another breakup conversation the other day. And, you know, it had me going through all my little dark head stuff and fucking, you know, thinking and fucking reevaluating. And I love her for it, you know. Like, I know it's weird to say, but, you know, she doesn't realize that, because she's at a different point, you know. She's like in this like vindictive type stage, and I'm just over here just loving the fact that she can make me miserable. Like, okay, right? So this is, let me help you. Let me give y'all some on my mind, right? Now, me and my ex, we've gone through all kinds of crazy, fucked up shit, dog. Like, you know, like we've gone through every extreme, almost every extreme that you can go through in a relationship, right? Outside of me just hauling off and clocking her ass, okay? Outside of that, you know, we have had physical altercations, but there's been no blows that were thrown or no shit like that. Like, you know, we've literally gone through the lovey-dovey, all kinds of fucking beautiful, like everything's perfect, to literally fucking like ready to fucking tee off with each other and shit, you know? Like, it's gotten to those points, right? And so, you know, that's why we're not together. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know, we say vindictive, horrible shit to each other. You know, we'll be separated, and she'll hit me up like fucking 2 weeks later or a month later or something, and she'll be all nice and sweet, and then talk a bunch of shit, and then I'll be all fucking nice and sweet, and then we're bumping heads, like we've been going, you know, messy shit. Meanwhile, I'm loving the fact that, one, she can even bring these type of emotions out of me, because, to be honest with you, she's the only one that made me feel once my father was gone. So as much as she gets mad at me about the shit, I love the shit just because there was somebody that was able to bring me out of that numbness, right? And when I got brought out of that numbness, we went through I've now refelt everything in my new life because of the relationship that we had. So I think, you know, that's why I wish her well and she wishes harm on me. Like, we're at different points. You know, we're at different places. She doesn't understand how to embrace the emotions that are brought out as, you know, a beautiful thing, that, you know, we actually got close enough to each other to where we both brought out emotions out of each other that neither one of us thought even existed. We were both that numb when we found each other about shit, and that's what kind of brought us together in the first place, was the numbness that we were sharing, right? Hers was covered with drugs, mine was covered with fucking deep diving in this fucking spiritual shit. Like, she was starting to dive into spiritual shit, but her thing that was keeping her down was the drugs, because she was using that because she was numb, and I was numbed out doing all the spiritual stuff. So I was a little bit ahead of my path than where she was at. You get me? And so, like, you know, she's still at a certain point to where she wants to attack me for us not being together, and I'm at my point to where I love the fact that she was able to make me cry. I love the fact that she was able to make me fucking yell. I love the fact that she was, because these are things that I didn't think that I was going to be able to experience before. Do you get what I'm saying? These are things that at that point in life, when I met her and found her, I didn't think I was going to experience none of that shit no more. Because after I lost my dad, it was like I was literally just numb to everything. Like, just numb. Like I had been in like one relationship before her after losing my dad, and it was like it didn't feel like that didn't end, that didn't last very well, because I couldn't. You get what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't really fully. It was too much. I wasn't ready for a relationship at that time, you know. So it had been a couple years, right? So, you know, like, my thing is that, you know, she's not at the level of, right now she's stuck at the level of, there's something great in my future, so I have to get rid of everything in the past level, and I'm more at the everything happens for a reason, and I enjoy it, and fucking, so, you know, she's upset and hurt, and I'm fucking over here chilling and fucking rolling. Well, yeah, I mean, look, don't get me twisted. Like, it does hurt, right? It does hurt that we're not together, but I enjoy the fact that I know that I can still feel these things. Sorry, like, I didn't, like, you know, I don't know how to continue to be mad about something like that. You get me? Oh, that wasn't me that said something about twin flame. That was somebody else. All right. Like, and that's the thing, right? Is, like, here's the deal. Like, once you get into this thing, like, you're gonna find that you're going to have a connection with somebody that's way deeper than any connection that you've ever had. The thing is are you going to share that with the ones that you're with, or are you going to try to build that outside of them? Because it can be built with anybody, because the whole secret of it is that it's your connection that gets worked on in the first place. It's not somebody else or somebody doing something or anything like that. It's you that gets worked on, that changes your perspective. So it's not that you have to leave your relationship. It's that you have to work on your fucking perspective enough so that the things that used to bother you in your relationship don't bother you anymore. It's like I said, if you can't grow inside your own house, how are you going to help the rest of the fucking community? Right? Everybody's disconnecting. Right? Everybody's trying to disconnect in order to build their connection. That is a fucking roadblock. That's a roadblock. That's being created. That's a roadblock. You can't build a connection by severing connections. That means that you're not ready to build your connection yet, because if you have somebody that loves you, that cares about you, you have a family, you have all these things that are pouring in and that have been your support, shouldn't your first thing be to fucking, you should learn how to enjoy the kingdom that you've created and that you live in already. If you can't enjoy the kingdom that you've created and live in already, then how can you expect to enjoy anything else? Because everything outside of that, right, that's the only thing that's actually giving you at the time. That's what's bringing it to you at the time. That's what's building you at the time. So if you separate yourself from that, you're putting yourself at the mercy of everybody. Like, look around you. Nobody else is doing for you outside of that. Well, there's levels to abuse, Burnett. There's things about abusive relationships, right? There's like, these are hard conversations. These are hard conversations to have. Are you sure you want to have these conversations? Because we can have the conversation about, so-called abusive relationships, but there's a lot of things that I'm going to say that I know that women aren't going to like. And no, I'm not sticking up for the men, nor am I sticking up for the women. It's just observation. It's also having been in something that got me to a point to where it would be considered what you would deem an abusive relationship. I've been on the receiving end of it, and I've also been on the giving end of it, but not the giving end to where I'm fucking hauling off and beating up women and stuff like that. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm talking about, like, the closest that I got to hitting a woman was me grabbing my ex. Literally grabbing her. Not choking her, not fucking just what are you doing? That's the closest I've gotten. That's what I consider abuse. Okay? That's what I consider abuse. Is that me grabbing her, I consider that to be because of the intent of my mind in the time of the action that took place. I consider me grabbing her to be physical abuse because of the reasoning behind it. Wasn't to give her a hug, it wasn't to calm her down, it wasn't to soothe her, it wasn't to reset her mind in a positive way. It was, you just did drugs with my kid, I'm mad at you, I want you to be fucking shocked and scared to do that again. And that was where my mind was at when I grabbed her. You understand? And so for me, that was an abusive move on my end. That's what it was. It was, and that's, that was the end of everything as far as I'm concerned, right? But, so, if I consider grabbing her abuse, understand that I also consider somebody that actually is beyond what I even consider abuse, right? Now, that being said, right? Women have been trained not to treat men like men. It's so that there is that overbearing level of fight between the two, because as men, we approach each other with a level of respect, just as men, just as being men, and that's because we know that there's only certain levels that we can be taken to before it's going to lead to something physical, right? Oh, thank you very much, woke. Right? And so as men, we approach men in this fashion at all times. At all times. There is no, we don't have the luxury of being able to yell at us the way, without there being a threat of a repercussion the way that y'all have been given, right? And no, I'm not saying that it's okay to beat women at all on any level. What I'm saying is that by making it so that women feel empowered to just speak to men on any type of way that they want to has greatly increased on the violence towards women, because you have to understand that all men don't have a good control of their emotions, and there is really only so much that a man can take. There's only so much screaming in his face. There's only so much fucking derogatory names. There's only so much fucking accusations. There's only so much that men can really take. We're not designed to deal with that. We're not designed to sit around and bicker. We're not designed. That's not that in nature. That would be a threat. In nature, that would be a threat to the order of things. And so naturally, men are proven through physical dominance. Why? Because as intelligent as we are and can be, survival boils down to what? Physical dominance. And so at the baseline of all men's fucking, remember, this is a mammal suit. There is no mammal that is a male that will not yoke a female up, that does not fight other males, that does not know that they have to, like, that is natural male existence. You understand? So there's levels to it. The problem is that right now in our society, the way that we have built things, we've basically made it so that men can't even speak on their own behalf when it comes to dealing with somebody that's willing to come, like, you know, it's no matter what you do, you can go to fucking jail for doing anything. Right? For anything to a woman, like, you know, just saying the wrong shit can get you locked up. You get what I'm saying? Y'all have been given too much freeway and leeway without consequence, just the same as these children are running around without consequences. You understand? So, like, you know, the whole discussion of abusive relationships, that's a hell of a heavy topic. That's a real heavy topic to go down, because there's a lot of things that, you know, a lot of people are going to have to reshape their character and be able to take accountability, and that's something y'all been trained not to do, is take accountability. You get me? Y'all been trained a lot not to accept any accountability, because the world's not built over here for you to be held accountable. It's made for men to be accountable, because we are. You get me? So it's a lot of undoing to be done in that, and you will find that if, you know, there would be a lot less men that felt so empowered to attack women, because there would be more men to defend those women if they were being treated better in general. But, you know, the respect that's given isn't really given these days, right? It's not even, you can't even earn it with some people. Right? So there's a lot to do with what people consider abuse in relationships. Right? Now look, don't get me wrong, right? See, this is the difference, right? Let me explain to you the difference, right? Realize that during the time when there was the general understanding of this, and people operated inside of these bounds, and people knew these things, and women treated men better in general, those guys that you would get into a relationship with that would put their hands on you, they'd be getting beat by everybody in society. You get what I'm saying? When there was a general respect and general understanding of the importance of men and what their role was, and women treated men in that manner, men would be coming to your back to beat these men bro, it was still going on when I was a kid. I know, because I got into a fucking fight. I didn't even get into a fight with my sister. What had really happened was my sister was bigger than me, right? She trapped one of my friends in the kitchen, because he was fucking terrified of her just like I was. She trapped him in the kitchen, right? And I tried to get between her and him, and she tried to fist of fucking fury me and caught me with one, but we were both in martial arts at the time, so when I got caught, guess what? So did she. Now I had a cast on, so it didn't rock her as much as it should have, but the problem was that she got rocked and then she fucking fell and rocked her fucking face up against the wall afterwards, right on the edge of the corner of the wall in the kitchen. So it gave her a beautiful shiner, right? And it kind of knocked her out for a couple seconds. Now me and my boy, we ran for the fucking hills. We were like, fuck it, run, she's gonna get up. We better get up. We gotta get out before she gets up. So we tried to run out of the house, at which point she got up lickety split and just fucking starts launching fucking stone plates at us. And so we go running outside, you know, we grab a handful of the garden rocks and shove them in our pockets because we notice she's gonna come out on her bullshit. And you know, we're rock fighting with my fucking sister at like 11 and shit because she was a monster. And so because of the fact that I defended myself by accident and knocked my sister out, I got jumped by everybody in her fucking grade. They took me down to the basement. They're like, look, you either got to come down in the basement and handle this in private, or, you know, we can do it out in public, but it's going to be a lot worse. And if you try to fight back, it's going to be even worse for you. And it wasn't, they were my friends. Okay, these were my fucking friends. My friends took me down to the basement. I was like, all right, fuck it, come on, let's go. So we went down to the basement, and for a minute, I had to stand there and get fucking beat by like 7 of my friends for hitting my sister. Okay, that's the world that I grew up in. Right? They heard that me and her got into a fight, and they're like, yeah, we know it's your sister, but hey, look, rules is rules. Bink, 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 bink. All right? It was all body, no face. You know, they were my friends, right? But you get what I'm saying? So I had to take a minute of pain, literally a whole, like, you know, and that was a lot. Getting punched by like 6, 7 people all at once for like a minute, just nonstop fucking airing you. That sucks, okay? But that was how we grew up, right? Now, think about that for a minute. If there was still the respect that was treated to men back then, now you would still have the men that were dragging those guys, but now things are so disrespectful between the two. You see men beaten and women beaten up, like you see them fist fighting in public, and everybody just goes by. Right? They all just stroll right past, like, oh, I don't know. They might record the shit. They might even record the shit. They could watch. You get what I'm saying? They'll watch the shit. That's where we're at right now. You know how dangerous that is for the women? Because there's a lot of dudes that are fucking crazy that will beat a woman and drag her off some fucking where just because. You get what I'm saying? And we live in a time where the men won't. Why do you think that is? That's because there's no respect for men. So they don't. So they've lost their, because our defending of women was replaced by the police when y'all put the police between the men. When the police were accepted as the protection of the women, the men got removed as the protectors of the women. You get me? Yeah, they won't piss on you if you're on fire now. Right? Another reason is because there's women that are in relationships with men like that, that if you go to try to defend them from that man that they've been in the relationship with, that they decided that was, if you go and defend them from that man, when the popo shows up, you're probably going to jail. Because she's not going to go after him, she's going to go for you. See? So complicated. That whole subject is so complicated. that whole subject, there's so many fucking layers to unfold on that subject. So many, like so much, okay? But yeah, no, so if there's a dude, like, hey, look, right? Okay, so this is what you got to ask yourself, right? If you're in what you consider an abusive relationship, 1, compare it to everything else that you consider to be abusive, and then 2, compare your Take a real realization of your actions. See if your actions are actually stirring that shit up, or if it's just what the fuck they're doing, right? If it's just what the fuck they're doing, yeah, get away from them. Unless you feel and know that you're one of those people that needs that type of contact. But be real with yourself. Be very real with yourself. There are women that only will respond and respect that type of a relationship. There are women that will only respond and respect a relationship where the guy is super kind and overwhelmingly loving. There's women that will respond and respect a relationship where there's a balance between the two. Figure out who you are. Are you the type of woman that will disrespect a man until he shows you that he will hurt you, and that's what you need in order for you to feel like he's dominant of you, for you to feel comfortable submitting to him, is knowing that there has to be like a threat of danger there or something? Are you one of those type of women? If you don't really like it at all, then why are you still with the person that does it to you? See, you really got to be honest with you, right? You really got to be honest with you, because you wouldn't still be with that person if a level of you didn't find that action to be necessary. So I don't, like, this is why I don't say no, I don't give a fuck if you say you're in an abusive relationship. No, you're not. You're in whatever you find necessary. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sticking in it. There's a part of you that feels that that is necessary, which is why you continue to be in that relationship. You know that person's not going to change. Every time you think, oh, maybe they'll change one day, you immediately have the answer. No, they won't. No, they won't. So, you choose to stay in that. So I don't want to hear shit about an abusive relationship that you are in. Now, if you left it, yeah, okay, good. Congratulations. That's not for you. That's why you left. But if you're staying in, I don't give a fuck what you have to. There's no victim. Yeah, exactly. There's no victims. You understand? I don't want to hear it. Oh, no, you're good. I'm just having a conversation. No, I'm not speaking directly. I'm just speaking in general. I'm just addressing things for people to understand. No, there is no willing victim. See, that's the thing, is there's no such thing as a willing victim. There's just somebody in a relationship. And there's somebody in a relationship that craves pity. That wants that. You see, that's somebody living in the princess world. That's the, oh, I was told that I was a princess, and so I have to be a damsel in distress in order for my life to feel like it's complete. And they always cheat. Why do they always cheat? Because they were putting themselves as a position as the damsel in distress, waiting for the guy to come save them. Because it's part of their story, because they were told they were a princess, and that's how being a princess works. Sometimes you have to have an evil fucking husband that keeps you hidden away in order for you to find your prince. Charming, right? Oh, thanks, Sale. Shalonda. Appreciate that. I love that. I hope that it helps you. Right? Think about that. No, it's definitely that princess shit, yo. It's 100% that princess programming. Yeah, soap opera shit. It's all the same thing, bro. All women's entertainment is cheating. That's what y'all have been told is entertainment. Every love story for women, it's all about that guy that got away. It's all about the guy that came and saves you from your fucking, so they're living that. They're living that programming. Some will willingly do that. They're like, oh wait, so I can go and marry a rich guy that's abusive and have him be abusive, and then get a payday when somebody else comes to take me from him, and that'll be my Prince Charming. Of course he's going to seem like Prince Charming if you put yourself through a fucking meat grinder first. Anybody will seem like Prince Charming after you force yourself to be in a meat grinder. But you were told that you had to do that in order to get the fucking funding for you to have your castle in the sky for you to find your fucking prince. Don't worry about that. TikTok be taking people off my followers all the time. Sometimes I'll log it. Like right now, I could log into my TikTok. It'll tell me that I got 13.9 I got 113,000 people on it and point fucking 500 people on it, and then I'll log into it and it'll say that I've got 14 or 15,000, 115,000. Then I'll log into it later, it'll be like, oh, you're down to 114,000. It just be jumping. I should be jumping now. It just jumps. So don't, TikTok be trying to get people not to listen to me because I be talking too much about stuff that people don't talk about, and I make sense. So they know that me being around starts fucking problems for their whole entire system. I'm a menace. I was deemed a menace to society. I was deemed a threat to society. I was deemed a menace to society by the time that I was 10. I've been on a government watch list since elementary school. Honestly, literally, I'm not even making that up. Like it's serious. Hold on, I need some coconut water. I'll be right back. But yeah, I've literally been on a government watch list since elementary school because of the psychiatrists and the therapists that they made me go see when I was in like 2nd and 3rd grade, because we were in the military and we had access to everything. God damn it, I just mopped there, dog. Why you going? So, right, understand that, like I was one of those super genius little kids. Really? Like, seriously? But, so it was like some CIA type shit when I was a little kid. Because they made me, because we grew up in Fort Dix McGuire Air Force Base, and since we grew up in the Air Force, we had all Air Force medical people and psychologists and therapists and all these things at our disposal. And so I was a super genius fucking little mixed kid when integration was just something that was taking place. And so I was like a little little piece of salt pepper in the middle of like a giant salt shaker in the military, where everybody, it was like all that stuff that you see in the movies about integration. It was literally, that was my life growing up. And then on top of that, like, they were worried that I would be like the next Martin Luther King. I can show you, if I can find my fucking, I would love to find those documents now, because I read them when I was like 18. I had lost them at some point, but my mom gave me all this therapy and fucking the test results from the IQ tests and all that shit that I was taking, because they sent me to all of them. Because I was whooping everybody's kids on the Air Force Base. I was beating everybody's kids. I was beating them black and blue and sending them to the hospital and shit when I was like a little kid. And that was because I knew what the N-word was, and I wouldn't let nobody call me that, my father that. Nobody was calling my mom an N-lover. None of that shit was flying with me, because the first thing that my dad taught me when I learned to speak was that you're black and you don't let nobody call you this, and made me watch all the by the time that I was done with kindergarten, I'd already watched The Color Purple, I'd already watched Glory, I'd already watched fucking like, you understand? The first thing that my dad taught me was, Jason, you have a drop of black blood in you. That means that you're an in front of the eyes of the world, and so be prepared. And my dad was one of those super respectful type people, very proud and very fucking strong in his convictions and shit. Right? And so what that turned into is a little kid growing up in a completely racist environment where everybody was like, oh, you're that mixed kid. My parents told me to stay away from you. And then the other kids were just like straight up like fucking like. So and here I am, whooping sleeves, right? Just whooping them. Why? Because being mixed, I got born with a 6-pack and a bad attitude. I was a genetic freak. Like, I had a 6-pack when I was a little kid, yo. That's just always been there. Right? it covers up a little bit every here and there, but like my body's just always naturally been on like superhero mode for some reason. And I used that to my advantage everywhere that I went. I was beating the sleeves off of all these kids at the Air Force Base. And so the Air Force was like, oh, he's a fucking terror. He needs to go and see a psychiatrist and we need to get his brain examined and we need to figure out, like, so then they found out that I was a genius. So now they knew that I was whooping kids for a good reason, right? It wasn't just for nothing, right? I was beating them for good reason because I knew exactly why I was beating them. You get what I'm saying? Like, that was a problem though, because I was beating them in every sport, so they all hated me for the fact that I could beat them in all the sports. Like, there was no sport. I was the forward in basketball. I was the center in soccer. I was the center fielder in baseball. Let's see. I was the lead on the wrestling team. I got the MVP for baseball, fucking for softball, for kickball, for basketball, for swimming, for I got MVP trophies in every single sport. The only one I never got to play was football. I had MVP trophies in everything, including gymnastics, including motherfucking tennis, I was beating them. I was beating them on every level. I'd go into the school. But all my shit tested out on college levels by when I was in like first and second grade, like 90% of it, until I got bored with it. They said that as soon as I lost my attention, I'd just go out the window with it. But everything that I tested on was college level before I fucking just got bored with the shit when I was in like elementary school. So their answer was, okay, give them pills. Yeah, Tyra, yeah. Basically I was, and they silenced it. So I was one of those people that they drugged out in order to try to dumb them down so that they would become a robot, because I got put on a list, yo. I got put on a list as a little kid because dealing with all the government agencies and shit, a little mixed kid that's super fucking genius, that's physically fucking dominant towards everything with everybody around them, was a real threat to their entire fucking system. So they told my parents they had to drug me up in order for me to stay in school. Imagine the school system telling you your kid's a super genius. He's got like 130 something IQ and he studies everything at a college level until he gets bored with it, and instead of challenging him and putting him in like middle school or high school classes just to feed his mind, they go, we're gonna give him Ritalin. They're like, we're gonna give him Ritalin. Yeah, give him this, bro. That on the lowest dosage, right? They told my parents that I had ADHD. No, I've just had I have super fucking genetics. I don't give a fuck what anybody feels about me saying it. I can prove it. I can prove it, yo. It's just evolution. It's how evolution works. I got a mixture of the old shit and the new shit freshly put together, and that worked out. It just worked out beneficially. I came from my father, who was a literal genius. My mom ran Princeton University. That's what she did when she left the military. She went to Princeton University and ran the entire college for like 20 fucking years. That's what my mom was doing. Okay? Like, my dad was building airplanes after he left the Air Force. He was building airplanes for Boeing and fucking building internet pages and fucking setting up internet companies when the internet first became a thing. He was one of the lead people in it. People would come to him to learn how to build fucking websites and shit. Those are the people I came from. Then on top of that, physically, I don't know. I just got super lucky with that shit. Like, I'm literally just built like a superhero, have been my whole entire life. It gets bigger, but I never get certain levels of small. Like, I'm always got stupid, relentless amounts of energy. Like, it's just... So it is what it is. Like, I got the paperwork to prove it on all levels. So the government considered me a threat because of that, and because they considered me a threat, they fucking dumbed me down with pills, put me and like, bro, they had me They had me on the lowest doses of Ritalin, and that shit had me to the point to where I'd be sitting there almost drooling and shit while I was doing the work. Like, when I originally would go to school, I would go into the classroom, I would sit down in the classroom, I would look up at the board while everybody was running around playing, being all buddy-buddy with each other, because nobody liked me any fucking way. So I would just sit down, look at what was written on the board as the assignment for the day, open my book up, read the chapter, do the test in the back of the chapter, close the book, and just sit there and draw for the rest of the time that I was in class. The only reason that I failed anything was shit like math, because in math they wanted you to show all the work. They wanted you to show how you got the answer. So it didn't matter if you could do a long division fucking problem without showing the work, because you knew how to do it all in your head. If you didn't write it down on the paper, you got it wrong. So math was a subject that I had a problem with, because I didn't feel like fucking writing everything out. That was my problem with math. You get me? So that's what I was doing. And that's why that's what got me in so much trouble in school. One, I had the kids that hated me because I was always done with my work and playing around and drawing stuff and fucking making origami and doing all this extra shit while they were having to go along with the teacher and study. And eventually the teachers didn't even question it anymore, because at first they would get mad at me for drawing and stuff, but then it got to the point to where they would know that even though I was sitting there drawing my picture, my work was already done, they could call me at any point in time during whatever they were talking about and ask me a question, and I'd have the answer for them. You get what I'm saying? So they drilled me. They drilled me with fucking pills. That shit fucked me up bad. Killed my mind for so long, yo. It jacked my mind up for so long. But by the time that I was like 10, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do the pills anymore. I was fighting them on it every step of the way, fucking spitting them out, trying to get rid of them and shit like that. You get me? Because I knew. I was like, no, I'm not supposed to be like this. Imagine being somebody that gets your work done within the first 10 minutes of walking into the classroom, to being somebody that's barely finished by the time the class is over, because your mind's been slowed down so much that you can't even fucking, like, you have to wait for commands. Don't put your kids on them fucking pills, yo. It's weird. Like, you literally can't do anything without a command first. That's what that pill did to me. Like, I would just sit there dumb and numb, not knowing what I was supposed to do, like, all day. I didn't eat food for, like, most of the day because of it. Like, I would eat once a day. And fucking, my mind was shot. That shit killed all my creativity. I was in a newspaper when I was in kindergarten for building a 6-foot tall parking structure that had a full parking garage in it and a skyscraper next to it out of fucking blocks. That's where my mind was at when I was in kindergarten. Think about that. So, because of all that shit, when I finally got off of the shit around 10 years old, when I finally got off of the shit and got away from all that craziness, fucking, my mind went straight to, okay, now I need to get rid of this system. And that's what they were scared of in the first place. But it's their fault that it went, well, they already seen it going that route. That's why they put me on the pills in the first place, was because even at fucking 5 years old, 6 years old, I knew all the loopholes and the reasons. Like, I knew all the rules and everything, and why I was able to do things that other students weren't able to do, and they couldn't get me in trouble for it. And so they'd be like, it was this whole thing. They were like, he's anti-government, he's always trying to find the loopholes and all this other shit. So they were like, yeah, pill him. they're like, pill him immediately. Well, they massively changed my brain function, right? They slowed down the natural process of my brain connecting things. That's what it did. Because they were worried that I would be like a Martin Luther King or some shit like that, you know? I was just one of those kids that made that list. So yeah, so that was a little about me, you know. That was me growing up. So once I got rid of all the pills and everything like that, like, I basically spent my whole time doing psychology one-on-one with people. I don't mean psychology like I was reading books on psychology. I mean, and for me to learn psychology from the ages of like 5 to 10, I was going and seeing psychologists and therapists and shit like that. And I read the reports on all of that. Every one of those psychologists and therapists that I went and seen, they were like, yeah, there's no point in us even talking to this kid. Like, he's not really saying anything to us. He's not teaching us anything. Like, we can't get nothing out of him. It's like trying to get information out of a rock. And we all, like, everybody had a unanimous, I can't deal with him anymore. It feels like he's just picking my head apart, trying to figure out how to fucking like how psychology works. That's basically what they all quit on. They all quit saying that, like, I was basically trying to figure out psychology through them, and I did. And that was the thing, I did. And because of that, like, all my friends would come to me with all of their problems and talk to me about things, and I would help them mediate through things, and I was like the voice of reason for all of my friends, right? So, you know, that's how I learned, you know, I didn't learn how to help people through reading books. I learned how to help people by being able to realize and recognize the mentality of people that was aimed towards me, and having the need to know where their ideas came from, how they got to be that way, and what it all is, and how it's going to affect the future, right? You'd be surprised how much of the future can be controlled if you know how to fucking program the people. And I do now. I do know how to program people. I do know how to manipulate energy. I do know how to control energies in a room. I can literally walk into any room that I want to because of my energy, right? And because of how I recognize my energies now, I use that in my advantage. I can go into any situation and change anything from a negative situation into a positive one. I can reshape and control how a whole entire room full of people works. I know how to grab the attention. It's just something that, like, I have a strong magnetism, and it's just something that I've learned to grow and enjoy, right? And so I utilize it in a way that I feel is beneficial for everybody, because that's what I would want for me, is somebody to try to help me. That's all I wanted when I was a little kid, was somebody to fucking be like, all right, this is why this is like this, so if you do this, then this is this, and this. So I spent my whole life figuring that shit out from firsthand experience. I've lived in the gayborhoods, I've been in the gay community, I've been in the lesbian community, I've fucking dealt with people that were dirt poor. I've also lived in multi-million-dollar houses with people that were established business owners in high levels of government and things like that. I've mingled with people that were fucking people that would stab you without a second thought, and I've also mingled with people that would defend you with their fucking life for not even trying to know you. You get what I'm saying? It's, I've basically spent my enjoyment in life has been understanding why people think the way that they think, and figuring out how to unravel that. That's where my heart leads me to. It's just, something I'm good at. So, I guess that's a threat to the system somehow, because, I don't know. But the thing is like, you got to be true to yourself. Like, that's when I'm true to myself, that's what it boils down to, is I like to help people. Why? Because I felt like I didn't have any help. That's why. I felt like it was weird for me knowing that there was millions of billions of people all around me, and everybody just fucking hated me, and I felt all weird and separated. So I just don't want nobody to feel like that. So that's why I do what I do, right? Because whenever you're trying to help others, you're just trying to help that part of yourself that you wanted somebody to be there to help. That's all it really is. Oh, this thing died, huh? Thing's been dead. Why didn't y'all tell me? So, I help y'all because, I would want there to be somebody to help me when I was going through something. Right? Hey, Agra Ada. Welcome. So that's all it boils down to, right? So it's my spiritual journey is kind of easy because I've already been on it my whole entire life. I just didn't realize it, right? And that's just aligning my heart with my mind, and my mind will tell me don't help somebody when my heart tells me to help somebody. So now I just go with the heart. It's a lot easier that way. But a lot of people are A lot of people are getting taught things that are having them battle with their heart rather than aligning it, because you can't silence the voice of your heart. You can't. It's the thing that keeps you alive, literally, in all ways, and it always thinks from the perspective of what's best for it. Right? You can't silence the heart. You can only silence your mind. So the thing is getting it to the point to where your heart and your mind coexist together, because once you do that, because right now, right, there's opposing energies. It's opposing energies. This means there's two that's separate, right? If the two are separate, then that's what? That. Wouldn't it be stronger if it was one? You get what I'm saying? You're creating a separation. That's that 8 shape that you see. That's why the 8 is small at the top and large at the bottom. Those are your two energies. That's these two. Okay? That's why it's shaped like that. That's why the 8 is smaller at the top and larger at the bottom. Your heart versus your mind, right? Those are the two energies that create the fucking loop. Without those two things have to be brought together, right? You can bring those together and that'll zero it out, which will make a completed circuit, right? You don't have a complete circuit if they don't line up. You understand? You can't, because as long as those two are conflicting, that's putting out separate frequencies. So, you know, you can ignore your mind all you want. You can silence but you're never going to be able to silence your heart. That's the only thing that sees through everything, right? The mind, right? Think about it like this, right? Your heart has a mind that is timeless. Right? The first thing that is created inside of the body is the heart. It's the heart, and then the nerve ends start coming, and then the mind comes. That's how the baby's created. It's the heartbeat first. It's the heart first. Okay? So, your heart is the thing that brings it all together. It started from the heart. That's the timeless energy. Right? That's the timeless energy that it started from. So that energy that the way that the heart's mind, okay? The heart's mind has existed before your mind existed. Think about that. Okay? That's why the heart is the bigger energy. The mind is the smaller one. Why? Because the mind is created off of the energy that's passing through the heart. So, your heart is the strong one. Think about it like this. The heart is the thing that creates the physical. The mind is the thing that observes the physical that's being created. The mind is the observer of the heart's action, not the other way around. Because your heart was first. Then your mind came. Because your heart was created off of what? Your parents' hearts. Your parents' information. So the heart has all that information, that general, that genetic genealogy information. You understand? All that sacred knowledge and all that, this is the timeless energy that came from the others. This is where the two became one, was your heart, your earth, your foundation. That's why this is the earth and this is the heaven. They tell you, see, look, this is what's funny about people that read the Bible but don't understand what it's talking about. They tell you that God made many heavens. Everybody's got their own. It's because that's your heaven. Heaven is your head, your haven, the haven for the thoughts. Now, I didn't freeze on you. Your phone's fucking up. It's your haven, your safe place. Okay? Realize that that's that's what that is. Uh-oh. Oh, no problem, man. No problem. So look, right? But yeah, so your heart is, they tell you that you have this energy, right? That the energy resonates outside of you. That's wrong. That's wrong. You're looking at it backwards. Right? They tell you that the heart puts out a resonance. And up until this moment, I was looking at it backwards too. See why I have these conversations? It's for the revelations. It's not that your heart pumps out energy, right? It's not that it pumps out energy at all. It's a magnet. It's drawing it in. It's creating it. Think about it like this. There's a bubble around you of energy that's being drawn into you. The energy that gets drawn into your bubble, you see as your vision of the things that are supposed to exist around you. It's not that you're creating a force field, it's that you're drawing energy in and it's being funneled through it in order to create the world that's around you. You understand? Your head then gets fed to the heart, which creates the energy that makes it appear in front of you. You understand? Your heart is not pumping out a field. Everybody's telling you it's pumping out a field, and I thought that I was thinking that shit until I just realized it a couple minutes ago. I've been thinking that shit for a couple months now, having my mind just question it and question it and question it. And now it all makes sense. It's not that it pumps it out. It's that you're drawing it in. The universe, it's unique. It's unique to your fucking frequency. Universe. The unique verse. The U-N-I verse. The you that's in me verse. It's the coming together of the you that's in me verse. It's the coming together of the energies that are flowing through you. How do you cleanse those energies when you experience things that you don't like? You fucking ground yourself. Clean it up. Okay? Simple stuff. Simple stuff. This is not some complex system that we're working with. It's just the understanding of the system has been greatly diminished for good reason. Because imagine if you understood all these type of things and you really tapped into this stuff when you were pissed off at somebody when you were younger and you couldn't control your fucking your emotions and things, and then you found out how much of the universe you really controlled. And imagine right, with great power comes great responsibility. That whole thing. So, you know, watch what you do with this spiritual journey. Learn, learn and pay attention. Pay attention to what people are teaching you, to make sure that the things that they're teaching you are coming from a place of real growth and not just coming from something that's regurgitated, because the things that are regurgitated are basically just fucking rocking everybody right out of what they're trying to get closer to. Okay? So, I love you guys. Thank you for attending the live. I hope that, this helps you out in some manner. We'll continue on this subject later on. If you want to recap on this live, I'll be uploading it to YouTube when I am completed. And I hope I catch y'all on the next round. Now, for those of you that need help reshaping your subconscious, right? If you know, you don't really understand the true depths of the capabilities that you possess and the things that this body is able to do, and you would like to find more about that and to understand that on a level that gives you more control over it and helps you so that you can mediate and mitigate through things on a level that makes it so that you're we'll say emotionally intelligent, I have a book for you. You can click the link in my bio and order you a physical copy off of Amazon. Or if you want that and the occult library that I have that goes with it, and you would like to attend my private lives for my curriculums that I create for people out of the workings that I study on these things, you can just send, let's see, we'll say 75. Yeah, we'll do 75 because, you know, it's $100 for the course and $25 for the book in the library. But if you get them through me today or from this live, you can get them both for $75. Right? That's like $50 savings, I think. All you got to do is Cash App or Venmo the Book of Johnson. It's all one word with a $75 donation in the subject. You want to put your Gmail so that I know who to unlock the files for and who to send them to. Okay. If you're on PayPal, you want to look up Taboo Bully. That's TABOO, Taboo Bully, BULLY. That's also one word. And same deal. Just put your Gmail address in the subject with the donation. All right. I love you guys, and I will catch y'all on the next live. And I hope you have a wonderful day.